Secretary, do we have a quorum?
We do, Mr. President.
All right, we have now established a quorum, so we will now move on to the Pledge of the United States flag and the Texas flag in a moment of silence. But for right now, I would please ask Mr. Fifth grade student from Rodriguez Elementary, Mr. Kristen Enriquez, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. Please.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. So now we will go on to the next agenda item. This is reports and information items. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is the superintendent announcements. I'm sorry, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, President. I hope that everyone had a safe, blessed break for the holidays. Our teachers and staff came back last week, January 4th. 2 days later, they welcomed our students back into the classroom. Our biggest event just prior to Christmas break was the district-wide holiday open house, which was December 16th. This event was very well attended throughout the entire day as we had student performances from each school. Many teachers, parents, community members, and business partners attended to see our talented students grab a bite to eat and share a holiday greeting with their friends and neighbors. I think, I'm pretty sure almost everyone showed up for a picture with Santa too. Several departments and had collaborated to put this event together and make it a success, and I appreciate that. Prior to the break, I decided to take time to visit some campuses and walk the halls with our campus administrators. I appreciate them showing me the schools and being candid about needs and opportunities for our district administration to support them and ultimately our students. Our Seguin High School Navy JROTC program is hosting their annual military ball on January 23rd at 6:30 p.m. at Seguin Coliseum. Anyone interested in attending may call Seguin High School for information.
Thank you, sir. All right, we will now move on to agenda item number 2. This is information report for January 2016 School Board Recognition Month. Mr. Rowe. Is it going to be Ms. Whitman or is it going to be Mr. Shaw? Mr. Hoffman, please.
Good evening, school board members and Mr. Rohn, members of the audience here tonight. For those who weren't here at 6 o'clock, if you would have walked into this room, you would have seen the dais covered with gifts from all of our campuses. And those gifts came from our schools. They came from our principals, our teachers, our students. They put these together in appreciation of you. As you know, January is School Board Recognition Month in the state of Texas. And our students and community of Seguin ISD always comes out and shows an outpouring of gratefulness and thanks for the job that you do, often thankless job you do, the hours, the time, and the commitment and the resources you put into your job. Last time I checked, y'all don't get paid for this. So again, we appreciate what you do. I think the state, by declaring this month for you, shows what appreciation the whole state has for our elected school board members. And here at Seguin ISD, it's no different. So again, thank you very much. Please enjoy all the gifts from the campuses. If you have a chance to thank those principals and those students who put that all together, I know they'll appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Any comments from the board members? Okay, no comments. Thank you all. Mr. Rowe, please pass on the thanks to your staff. Okay, now the real good stuff. Here we go. This is agenda item 2B. This is a campus recognition presentation, Rodriguez Elementary. Mr. Hoffman. Oh, looky here.
Rather than cut in front of these students, we'll just introduce Miss Allison Seidenberger, our principal at Rodriguez Elementary School. They have a presentation for us tonight that I know that we all will enjoy.
All right, good evening. My name is Allison Seidenberger, and I'm the proud principal of Rodriguez Elementary, and we're very excited tonight, and we thank you for the opportunity to showcase a portion of our student population as well as some of our staff members that are with us here this evening. We're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the enrichment activities that we've been doing within our campus and share some of those projects with you tonight. So at this time, I would like to introduce Miss Jackie Silvius, our amazing librarian, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the project.
So I've had the pleasure of getting to work with these students since August. We've done things from writing poetry to designing airplanes, and each project involves some kind of research, problem solving, working together, and the hands-on activities. So it's a joy to work with these students every day. They amaze me each time, so I'm very proud of these students. And at this time, if you guys will introduce yourselves.
Christian Sepchi, Julian Olive, Maria Reyes, Debbie Colson, Austin Moore, Jordan London, Kayla Rivera, Tiffany Chinelli, Colter Benson, Clementina Valdez,
And now they're going to share with our enrichment activities.
One of our enrichment activities involved creating our own haiku poem, given the inspiration of an image from nature.
As part of our research, we learned that a Japanese poet named Kato wrote poetry in the 1600s and is considered to be a master of haiku. Traditional haiku poems are unrhymed, three-line poems with strong visual images. We first researched haiku poems and learned that modern haiku can integrate humor or unexpected events in the last line. We found an image for inspiration and we built a first draft. We then collaborated with our peers to edit and revise our poems. And we finally created tunnel works with our own personal artistic influence and details. Here are a few examples. Butterfly, butterfly. Big colorful wings. Nectar is its favorite. It's a butterfly. Big red. What is big and red? An apple. No, just kidding. This is bridge right here. My wolf, looking wild and free. My little wolf is hungry. Are you going? Stranded. Look at the brown sand. I want to be stranded there. Oh, I think I am. After generating excitement with our tuna boats while displaying them in the library, we were asked to share this concept with you as part of our presentation tonight. Inspired by languages as inspiration, we have created a haiku tunnel book for inspiration.
We hope this tunnel book will be something you can enjoy in your office as a reminder of our appreciation for all you've done for our school district.
At this time, I'd like to distribute a tunnel book for each of you to show our reminder of spirit. Our first graders also have been working on some special enrichment activities.
All right, I am going to step in on behalf of Mitzi Wuffel. She is our shared GT teacher between Rodriguez Elementary and Weinert Elementary, and unfortunately her children were sick yesterday and now she is sick as well today. So she has been working very hard with our first grade GT students on an animal adaptation project. And so I'd like to share with you now a portion of that project that they put together. And Uziel, if you'll tell us a little bit about this slide, please.
This website is called Build Your Wild Self. To get in the website, it's called www.buildyourwildself.com. So you can choose your ears, mouth, nose, arms, back, and legs.
And then what do you create from that?
Then you create your own crazy self.
Okay. All right.
We had a visit from Dr. Leslie from the Seguin Animal Hospital. She taught us about animal adaptations. We compared our heart rate to animal heart rates. They all sound different. We even observed animal bones and teeth up close. We used all we learned to come with our very own creative animal adaptations.
All right, and I'd like to have Dominic start us out. Dominic, tell us about your creative character.
My character has one lizard eye so I can shoot out blood and scare away my enemies. The alligator nose so I can breathe underwater. The mosquito mouth so I can suck up blood and scare away my enemies. The bat ears so I can see with my ears, and it's basically like I have 4 eyes.
Okay, Sarah, tell us about your character.
So my name is Sarah, and I have the bush baby eyes so I can see at night, and I have the elephant trunk so I can take my own self a bath and do something else. And I have the archer fish so I can shoot out water without getting any. And I have the jackrabbit ear so I can keep going somewhere.
Excellent, thank you. Uziel.
I have these glow ears so I can hear my family from far away. I have the horn lizard eyes so I can scare predators and people who try to hurt my family and me. I have the alligator nose so you may laugh at this. I do not breathe in the water. And I have the chicken mouth so I can eat as many fish as I can before midnight.
All right, Victor.
I pieced it before I pieced it. I can see far, far away, and I think the coyote knows because I can know my food, and I think the snake mouth because I can make something so big, and I think the whale ears because I can see it far, far away.
Sienna.
I picked the bush baby eyes so I can see at night when I'm thirsty so I can get a drink. I picked the hyena so I can swim when it's cool. I picked the jackrabbit ears to keep me cool in the summer when my dad's working on the pool. And I got an anteater mouth.
Why did you say you had the ants in your mouth?
Because ants are being made to steal.
So these are just a few of the examples of some of the enrichment projects that we're doing with the various grade levels. Ms. Wellful commented about the integration of really all of the curriculum to be able to do a project such as this. You saw the career exploration and the career community involvement component as well, but they're able to integrate research with math, with science, with English, with social studies, and give them a well-rounded project. That's something that's a lot of fun to do, very creative, but also educational at the same time. I would like to thank our additional staff. In Ms. Wellful's absent, we recruited some help. So Ms. Couch is one of our first grade teachers, master teacher at Rodriguez Elementary. I would also like to thank my assistant principal, Vanessa Brown, and all of her hard work, and my instructional coach, Cassie Kaler, for all of her hard work. And I would like to thank our families and our parents for bringing your students here. We had 100% here, and that makes the project go well. So thank you all for your support. We're very, very proud of our students at Rodriguez Elementary. Thank you for your time, and as the theme for this year says, you are superheroes definitely for the Seguin ISD students and staff. And so we thank you and hope that you enjoy all of your goodies and much deserved. So thank you very much for allowing us to be here today.
Excellent, excellent presentations. That's what it's all about right there, guys. Any comments? None? Okay, thank you very much. Once again, thank you parents for bringing your kids. And we'll move on to the next agenda item. This is the review of financial statements for November 2015. This is an information item. Any questions or comments from board members? Hearing none, we will move on to the next agenda item. And now this is audience with the board. Seguin ISD Board of Trustees has designated a time for audience participation at the beginning of each meeting to hear persons who desire to make comments in accordance with the board policy BED local. Those wishing to speak shall sign up before the meeting begins, stating the concern or noting the agenda item they wish to address. Audience participation is limited to 5 minutes. Audience of more than 5 persons shall appoint a representative, and the board shall not deliberate any subject that is not posted on the agenda. And first individual signed up to speak is Mr. Joel Quintanilla.
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I am Joel Quintanilla, and I just wanted to come by and introduce myself. I am a candidate for U.S. Congress in District 15, and I look forward to serving this great school district. First of all, I want to commend each and every one of you for your public service and your time and dedication to this district, because truly it's about our children and our futures and our families. You know, so I commend you. You don't have an easy job. It's not an easy task to be a school board member, especially at present age when there's so much federal funding being cut. I know that you all did lose a little bit of federal funding, and believe me, as a father of 6 and a grandfather of 10, you can count on my wholehearted support to definitely come back and support all our ISDs within our district. I was a city commissioner in the city of Mercedes for 6 years. And I was a mayor in my great city for 9 years as well. And I was a county commissioner for Hidalgo County also for several years. We dealt with a $161 million budget and had over 3,000 employees. And while I was county commissioner, I represented over 200,000 citizens. So I know it's not easy to be a school board member at present age. And I just wanted to come by and introduce myself and count on my support. God willing, I don't know if you know this or not, but our congressman at present time, Rubén Osa, will be retiring at the end of this year. And God willing, you know, I look forward to serving you and working with you, and of course serving the great families and our children here in Seguin ISD. To your educators, to your staff, to your principals, I know it's not easy. I know it's hard for you to give pay increases, and maybe that's something we all don't really like to talk about. But I know we're losing a lot of our educators and our administrators into the market, the private markets, because basically, you know, it's real hard to compete against the private market as far as salaries are concerned. So I will assist you. I just want to mention that Louis Reyes here is actually my cousin, and you know, I spent some hours with him talking about what he'd like to do for this great district. You know, as far as you know, actually creating a technical engineering and mathematics and science magnet school. You know, this is something we'd really like to address and try to assist you with. I know that our current congressman definitely supported Seguin ISD in many ways, and he definitely pushed higher education as well. So this is something that we will definitely continue. He is from Mercedes, actually. And when I was mayor of Mercedes, he's still my congressman, of course. So we share a lot of the same sentiments, a lot of the same values. And I just wanted to come and introduce myself. And I'm here to serve. May God bless you and your families. May God bless the school district and all our children. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Next individual to sign up to speak, and please forgive me if I pronounce this incorrectly. I can't read this. Gloria, is it Sasser?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. How are you today? It's really a pleasure to be here today with you. I have some concerns about what's been happening in the school district, and so I would just, because I don't have, by the way, my name is Gloria Suarez Sasser, and I live in District 7, so as you all are well aware, I don't have a school board member. There it is, empty seat. And I hope that y'all ratify that really soon, because I probably wouldn't be here today if I had a school board member I could call and talk to about issues that are concerning me. One of the things I'm really, and I wrote notes because of those of you who know me, it can be a little long-winded. I have really am concerned about what's been happening with the school district and what's been appearing in the newspapers, social media, and actually some conversations I've been having with folks in around the town. I'll be really honest with you. I don't really care why Ms. Garza resigned. That's a personal issue, and I don't really care about that. And I don't care why the athletic director was removed. Not my problem, that's your problem. And I don't really care why Mr. Salinas was selected to serve as an interim athletic director, or how many conferences or trainings you go to. Those of us who have served on boards know that you have to attend those things in order to stay up with what's happening in town. So those are decisions, those are internal decisions that are made between the school board and the superintendent. And also, you know, I've heard comments about why things are not being revealed that are being talked about in closed session. And we all know that personnel issues, those of us who have been on boards know that you cannot discuss personnel issues outside of the school outside of the executive session. Those are the things that we elect you all to take care of. That's your job, to make sure that you make the absolute best decision for the school district. And if I don't like it or we don't like what you're doing, we come here and we tell you that. And if that doesn't do any good, then on election day, guys, you know what's going to happen. What I do care about is the quality and the type of education that our children are getting in the school system and what they're learning from what they're seeing, what other adults are doing. I've heard so much bickering and pot stirring that's going on that I find it difficult to believe that this is in the children's best interest. The disrespect that has been shown to not only to the school board but administration is absolutely appalling. And you know, you can agree, you can disagree, you can agree to disagree, but you have to maintain some kind of civility, and that's not going on. The way Mr. Salinas was treated is a case in point. That was shameful. The lack of either that came, whether it came from disrespect or just absolute ignorance of common courtesy and professionalism. You know, and that really isn't the point, whether it came from that. The fact is that it shouldn't have happened. And frankly, I don't think it came from lack of knowledge of just plain common courtesy. I really think there was something else going on here. Mr. Salinas' abrupt departure showed a serious problem in the school district. For him to have been treated in the manner that he was is uncalled for. And what did it teach our children? That if we don't like somebody, all we have to do is be really ugly and hateful and mean and rude, and they're gone. The athletic booster organizations, like any other, with members who are passionate about their organization, who feel that they're in charge and that the actions of the board or the superintendent is something they don't agree with, they just don't have to follow those. I understand how difficult it is for them not to feel ownership of an organization. I belong to various organizations, including LULAC Council 682, and I'm really passionate about LULAC and all the organizations I work with. And I work really hard to ensure that that we follow the settings that our council has set, and that we work toward those things that are important: civil rights, scholarships, and the community garden. But you know what? We have rules we have to follow. And we have rules of the organization, and we have bylaws. And on occasion, even though we may not agree with state and national, we're told sometimes that we can't do something, and we may not like it, but we have to follow those rules. The athletic boosters also have rules they have to follow. And they're set by the UIL. And whether it comes from arrogance or just ignorance of common courtesy, the rules and professionalism, there seems to be a problem here. And are they following these rules? I don't know, because I've asked several people, and nobody can really tell me if these things are being taken care of. So have they submitted reports, financial reports? Are they giving prior approval from the administration for things, for purchasing things? Did they appraise the administration about club activities. You know, the violation of,
Ma'am, you have 1 minute.
yes,
1 minute left.
1 minute,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
violation of the
I'm
uniform,
sorry, Mr. President, we're already at the 5-minute mark.
okay,
If
can I
wrap
just
it up.
finish my
Yes,
sentence?
ma'am. Finish your
Okay,
sentence.
thank you. Since the organization has exhibited actions that can be construed as maybe unprofessional, I am requesting an audit of the organization and their finances to ensure they're functioning as they are required to. Thank you.
Okay, next, let me get there. Next individual that was signed up to speak is Mr. Leonardo Molina Jr.
Chairman, I have to excuse myself. Pleasure. God bless you all.
Honorable Ismael Flores, President, Seguin ISD School Board of Directors. Honorable Stetson Rowan, Superintendent, Seguin Independent School District. And distinguished Seguin ISD School Board members, greetings. Seguin ISD School Board members, thank you. Thank you for giving Superintendent Rowan hiring authority to recruit and hire the highest qualified, highest talented teachers to teach our school students. 2,700 Seguin ISD students did not pass the STAR test last year. Let me repeat that. 2,700 Seguin ISD students did not pass the STAR test last year. Superintendent Rowan has made it very clear that one of his responsibilities as superintendent of this school district is to ensure that the academic test scores of our school students are improved to meet and exceed state expectations. To accomplish such improvement, changes have to be made within the administration of the school district to ensure that our school students receive the best education possible, taught by the highest qualified, highest talented teachers that can be recruited. The recruitment of such professional personnel should and must be the superintendent's responsibility. Superintendent Rowan is a professional administrator to whom such responsibility should and has already been delegated, for he has the qualifications and talent to see that whatever changes must be made within the school district will ensure that our school students receive the best education possible to enable them to succeed in later life. Again, school board members, thank you. Thank you for recruiting the highest quality, highest talented school superintendent that will ensure that Seguin ISD will become an academic leader among school districts. Otra vez, del fondo de nuestro corazón, gracias. Gracias por llevar el bienestar de nuestros estudiantes en sus corazones.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Molina. Next individual to speak, familiar face, is Ms. Nancy Ayotte.
Hello everyone. Sorry I haven't been appearing at very many meetings, and I apologize for putting you in the difficult position of having to appoint someone to be in my place. I know I appear I'm in pretty good health, and thanks to everyone for their good wishes and their moral support. I'm still undergoing treatment every week, but it is working, I think, as everyone can tell. I'm still getting tired very easily, but I wanted to be here tonight to support this this effort of yours and to let you know I am going to repeat what Ricardo said earlier about I think it's very important that the person you appoint be very focused on students and the administration and supporting that need. And to that end, I'm going to verbally say that I support Galinda Moreno as the person to replace. She has many years of experience in education, and I think she still has an ear to those people in those offices and those students. And she also has had some business experience that could help in that area. And so I just wanted to make this short and sweet, but to let you know that that is who I think would be a good candidate. But I know you will go into your closed session and listen to the interviews and make the right choice, no matter, you know, what you need to do. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you, Nancy. Good to see you, Nancy. And next individual speak is Ms. Marty Cottle, please.
Good evening, Superintendent Rowe, is this on?
Yes, ma'am.
And school board members. I am here on behalf of Educate Seguin, and we are having an event on Thursday evening at the downtown Stephen and Mary Birch Texas Theater. We are highlighting Lisa Falkenberg. She is a native of Seguin. She went through the Seguin ISD school system. She's a proud graduate of the class of 1996. And she is the 2015 Pulitzer Prize winner of commentary. She is currently at the Houston Chronicle. We wanted you to be aware of the event. We're hoping to pack the house to show her that we have such community pride in the success and accomplishments that she has made, and just that the community has such pride in our school district. So I have a flyer. I'm going to give each of you one. Tickets are still available. The event begins at 6:30. The program begins at 7:15 in the theater. It will be an opportunity for Lisa to share her story. She was definitely inspired by her time at the high school here, particularly working on the newspaper and the teachers that encouraged her to pursue journalism. She was a graduate of UT, and we're very proud to have her. We're so grateful that she's accepted to come and speak to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we will now move on to the next agenda item. These are action items. This is agenda item 4A. This is approval of board minutes for the regular meeting, December 8, 2015. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Mr. Holt, second by Mr. Thomas. Is there any discussion or corrections into the board minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. No opposition. Motion passes. Next agenda item is the approval of 2015-2016 budget amendments for the general fund. Mr. Rowe.
I'm going to have Mr. Drum come up and make a little comment on this. As you know, last month, he kind of introduced himself, and he is going to be helping us with the transition, kind of tell you who he is, where he's from. He's been put under contract for the transition time with the CFO, and so I'd like him to introduce himself and kind of discuss this agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. I served 40 years as a CFO of different school districts in the state of Texas. Completed my career with the Dallas Independent School District, served 10 years with the Austin Independent School District, 10 years with Lubbock Independent School District, 5 years with Kingsville School District, 2 years with Victoria School District, and then a little while at El Campo, Cameron, and Copper's Cove. So you get an idea. I've been doing this for a long time. And so the superintendent asked me to come and help with the transition, ensure that the office continues to run smoothly, and it does run smoothly, and we've got a great bunch of people back there. The subject before us, though, is the funding for the high school. And so anything I say, you already know this. You know that you accepted the low bid of $83.5 million for that. The bond passed for that amount of money, and you have received that revenue. You sold the bonds in 2 sales, you received the revenue. Most of it's in the bank. You've already spent some of it as the bills come through, and you can see that they are hard, fastly at work on your high school. I would also I have met with Mr. Carlos Alexander. I find him to be an outstanding individual who has a great deal of experience building not only commercial buildings, but building schools, which is a little kind of different animal than a Walmart store or something like that. So you get the idea. So that the issue then becomes that the total cost of this project is $103 million, almost $104 million. And you have $83 million, $83.5 million, and you've got to make that up. Well, that's not an emergency to you, because you've saved for a lot of years in a fund balance and increased it little by little by little over many years, not with a specific purpose, but in case you need the money. And I dare say the cities and the counties and school districts all across this great state and other states are doing the same thing. And then one day something comes up and they appropriate some of the money. They will not appropriate all of their fund balance because they need some fund balance just for as an ongoing concern. An example I might use is when a Walmart or a grocery store opens up every day, they got to have some cash on hand, right? Depending on their sales or whatever, they may have to buy some product, they may have to pay some people, they may have to give some change to somebody, but they need some cash on hand. And that's what fund balance is required to do and for you to have. So you have somewhere around $30 million in your fund balance, and the fund balance is measured daily. And the one that you see in your audit report is measured on the last day of the fiscal year. So again, it's measured on one certain day, and it changes daily depending on how much money you've got in the bank, and if you made the payroll the day after payroll, obviously you got less money than the day before the payroll. So it depends what day you measure the fund balance. So then you try to estimate it, what's it going to be for the end of the year. It's going to be, in the absence of doing anything, somewhere around $32 million. But the administration is proposing that we allocate $20 million of those dollars, specifically $20,354,130, to satisfy our obligation to build this high school. We've signed a contract to do that. Now, the contractor is going to work out there and continue working until one of two things: either completes the project or somebody stops paying them. Now, you're not going to continue when you stop paying them. That's not an arguable discussion that you're going to have. You know? So what you have to do is be proactive. This is no secret. You've discussed this probably at the board, privately, in the newspapers or whatever. And when you awarded that contract, you knew that you had to come up with some more money. And the administration believes that it's appropriate to appropriate this $20 million out of your $30-some million, leaving you a balance somewhere $10, $11, $12 million in August. Okay? Now, someone would argue that we don't need to do it now. Well, you don't have to do it now. You can wait till the gentleman stops building. And then that possibly may affect how soon you can move into that building, because that's going to cause it'll cause it to be finished at a later date. Okay? And when all those people leave the job, it will take some effort to reorganize and get this big building going again. You can't just tell everybody to go home and then 2 weeks later call them up and say, come back. That's not the way it happens. Those people find other jobs out there. So it's very difficult. You don't want that to happen. So in an attempt to be proactive, simply appropriate the money and wait to move into your building. And your bond construction manager will give you updates along the way, and administration can tell you other things such as purchasing the technology and so forth that you are doing in conjunction with this building. Putting in the 2 new programs for the veterinarian program and what's the other one? Dental assistant program, thank you. putting that in addition to the other great programs you got out there in your CTE area. So, the administration is recommending to do this. The $10 million, if you, as an example, you might say, how much do we need? Well, you've got about a $55 million budget on the expenditure side. And if you divide that by 12, you're spending a little less than $5 million a month. 4.8, 4.7, something like that. So 2 months would be $10 million. So you have 2 months of operating left, right? And you, whether you ever going to need that to operate, I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but possibly your last month of the year, you might come up short, depending when TEA gives you their money. And they typically send that on the 25th of the month. And I do not know what day you pay your people. But if you pay your employees before you receive their money, then you got to use your money. And a couple days later, you get theirs, and you just move along. You get that. But $10 million is certainly adequate to do this. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yes, sir. Questions, Mr. Holt?
What is the TEA requirement as far as what we should have in reserves?
TEA has no requirement that you should have in reserve. People will tell you that they do. They did years ago. It was for a long time, about 15, 20 years, they had a schedule in your annual audit. From everything, you know, there was actually a schedule in there. I think it's called Schedule J3. And it recommended 2 months. And then for a short period of time, they in the 2010 era, early, they changed it to 3 months, all right? And then they discontinued the whole thing. So that's the history of TEA's recommendation. You have to think of school districts and cities and counties, it's just like a business. You know, you don't want to sit here and just have a big fund balance and never use it. You know, somebody could ask you, you know, why did you get this big fund balance out here? Well, you got it for a rainy day. You got it for when you need it. And you've been prudent with the money. You didn't spend, and your predecessors didn't spend every dime that came into this district. You saved some of it. And that resulted in your fund balance over time. Didn't happen 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Probably a 15, 20-year process out there.
You also stated that if we do nothing, our fund balance should be at 11,781,000 according to the numbers on here. But I know you've only been here a short time, but are there items that are scheduled to come in that possibly could increase that fund balance at any point in time throughout the year that would actually bring it up higher than 11 million?
You don't have much uncertain revenues. To predict revenues for school districts is not difficult if you know what the average daily attendance is. That's the big thing. When you put this into their computer model, you put the average daily attendance, and if you want to get a little more specifics, identify your FTEs, full-time equivalents, of the number of kids that take CTE courses. If you could put that in there, because it gets you a little bit more money. If you know the FTEs and the role ID codes for your special needs children, there's about 5 different classifications. If you could put that, that'll get you a little more money. And you can easily get that by just going and look at last year's. How many did you have last year? This district has maintained 7,500 kids for about 10 years. Up 100, down 200, up, you know that. And the type of kids, your GT kids, that number hasn't changed. Your special needs children hasn't changed. The number of children on free and reduced lunch has increased slightly. That gets you a few more dollars also. So estimate revenues is not difficult. And once you do that, the money's going to come because people are going to pay their taxes, and the state will give you the rest of it over a period of 12 months. Did that answer your question?
Ms. Heffernan, thank you, sir.
I had some of the same questions that Mr. Holt did, and I am concerned about depleting that general fund to such an extent. Is there any anticipation of other requests for depletion of those funds this year?
There are none at this time. You have already what are you, about 6 months into your year? September, October, November, December, January, yeah, you've almost completed your 5th month, right? So you're halfway through your year. And into your scholastic year, you're more than halfway through, thinking about semesters and students, because you can be done around the end of May or the 1st of June. So there are I cannot imagine anything that's on the horizon. And I've talked to your staff, and people have budgets. And so if something comes up, can you wait the next year and put it in your budget? Because if it's in this year's budget, it's already planned for, and it's part of the $57 million, I believe, in the expenditure budget, and you can buy it. And if you got something that comes up that you think you need this year, I think administration would say, well, let's wait till next year. That's the normal course of action.
Yeah. Any other questions, board members?
I have a question.
Mr. Rowan.
Based on our history with SHAR's disbursements, I was under the impression, or kind of got led to believe that based on that history, that we're expecting about 800,000, somewhere around that number, payment from SHAR's, within the next 6 months or something.
Right.
Can you explain SHAR's, please?
I'm not an expert on SHAR's. It's government reimbursing us for certain efforts, usually done by counselors, diagnosticians, and nurses for special needs kids that they do, and they report that they did them. And then I think it's Medicaid, yes, that pays reimbursement to school districts for those services. And they're notoriously behind. You submit this on a quarterly basis, but I'll bet you that you're 3 or 4 quarters from them sending you your money from, second quarter of 2015, they haven't sent you. So the staff knows that money's coming because they sent the bill, like an invoice to them. All right? And so they haven't paid us yet, but they're going to pay us. And now, in answer to your question, that is not reflected in your on your budget.
So it is not reflected in these?
It's not reflected in there.
So it could be an additional close to 800,000?
Right.
Okay.
And that, because this is November 30th.
Understood.
So now, when you get to December or January, they should acknowledge that in their revenues.
I have another question for you. I guess I'm just real inquisitive because I want to make sure I'm as open with everybody as I can be. In my experience, if we look at our current budget and we look at previous budgets, we look at trends, we look at financial trends. When you're superintendent, you try to look at the big picture. We see SHAR's disbursements, which aren't calculated in FTEs, but we do get funding because I was a special ed director and did look at the funding cycle on that and was in charge of that and was trained in that. One of the things that I found is that, if we provide speech therapy or hearing therapy or physical therapy for a child, we pay for it, then we send a slip off and then they pay us back. So it comes out of our funds. We budget for that every year based on the number of kids we've got. If you notice tonight on the table report, you notice trends. Last year's special ed population was 9.8%. Bilingual was 9.2%. The previous years, that hasn't changed over half of a percentage point. So therefore, you can roughly estimate and calculate projected future revenues from those services once they have been yielded to the student. I say that to go into the next point of additional revenues that the board may not know about and the community may not know about. But is it, in your experience, or if you have any knowledge of this, at the end of this year, you said our budget was what was our current budget, did you say?
I think 55 million on expenditures.
So it costs about $5 million a month to be us. That's what it costs to run this school. So based on that, and based on your experience, and if you know or don't know, what do you think of this $55 million that we've budgeted, that we're going to use 100% of that in every category, district-wide, by the end of the year?
You've never done it up to this time.
How many times?
Never that I saw. I looked at your...
Okay, the reason I'm saying is because I look at trends as superintendent, and I want to make sure that we know that at the end of the year, in 6 months, we're going to get roughly 800,000, plus we're going to get whatever we roll into that. We talking like $5,000, $50,000? Do we roll 1%, 2%, 3%? Do you have any information on that at all? If you don't, I'm
We
good.
don't know, we looked at it, and I would say you're gonna have about $1 million to $1.5 million, $1.7 million of unexpended funds,
Okay.
right?
So what I would like to just simply say is if we do round math here, if you take the $800,000, it's not on the TEA books, and we tell the public that we're gonna expect that by the end of the year. And we're gonna roll 1 million, or let's say 1.2 million, that gives us 2 million. If you take the 2 million and you add it to the 11 million, that puts us at 13 million. That's not going any farther than that. The reason I'm asking for this is simple. We committed, and I'm in charge of seeing that that school gets built. And I know I'm probably gonna hear it from everybody, but the truth is that I'm the one that wanted to get this done. I'm responsible for it. I want to move the money over for a reason. The deal is that I want to make sure that we pay for what we've committed to do. We've committed to do this. There are soft costs, there are desks that are needed, there's technology that's needed. But that's everything, and that is putting in a 6% contingency fee, which is standard operating procedures across the state of Texas for construction projects. So I took the rule of thumb, I took the guaranteed maximum price, I found out what it was going to cost for desks, technology, computers, the stuff we were going to need, basketballs, whatever that had already been decided before I got here. And I added the guaranteed maximum price to that, added 6% to it, which is $4.5 million to guarantee that I don't have to come back to this board unless there's a real bad emergency or something happens, and say we can get this done, and at the end of this build, my projection is we'll have about $4 million that will go back into the fund balance. Now, if you take the $12 million and you roll two more, like you do every year, a couple $1 million in at the end of the year, by the time this project finished, based on this little plan, we will have committed to getting this done. We will have honored our commitments. We won't slow the project down. It's funded. That conversation is over for now. My next conversation is looking to the future. If we follow this plan and we're fiscally conservative for a few years, we've got a new school, let's be fiscally conservative. Let's take a few steps, maybe do a TRE or something, tax rollback election, drop it down a couple of cents or something. Let's consider that. That'll bring in another $1 million of revenue. We do that, and then at the end of the 3 years, I believe, as I've explained to you and demonstrated how, if you add the SHARs in, you add the $2 million a year in, you add the building construction left over, because we've got the contingency in there that historically in builds is not used unless there's a catastrophic problem, we will have about $20 million in fund balance in 3 years. So what I'm saying is that we've decided to build this fabulous school over here, and I'm going to be just ecstatic when it's built. It's going to bring more kids in. That's going to draw more revenue in. Every kid that graduates from here is going to go through all these schools and go through that, every kid. So what I'm saying is that at the end of 3 years, I'd like to have what we started in fund balance. And then we can look as we expand to the future with a $20 million fund balance and look at the taxpayers and say, if we want to build something, that the next time we build it, we're going to have skin in the game. You're going to know how much, just like we're going out for a loan. So that's what I wanted to say about this, folks, and it's in the board packet. I could have cleaned it up. I could have tried to, decrease or make the words better, but the facts are the facts. The money is the money, and as long as I'm here, I believe in paying for what we say we're going to do and meeting our obligations. So again, thank you for your time, and I want you to know that I appreciate you coming in and helping us out. How many, I don't think people may not from Seguin realize your credentials. You went through them pretty quickly. How many dollars worth of building projects have you successfully completed in the state of Texas over your career?
Well, $1.1 billion when I was in Dallas, maybe 700 or 800 million when I was in Austin, 200 million when I was in Lubbock. The others were smaller, 5, 10, 15, 20, over 40 years.
I guess the reason I say that is you're a very humble man, but you are well known throughout the state as being an expert in this area, and a successful expert. We're very blessed to get you. How many other districts are you coming to like this?
I go to a lot.
Okay. And this right here is the plan. You've seen this plan, correct? This amendment?
Yes.
Do you think that this is a sound fiscal decision?
I would recommend that. Yes.
Thank you. Board, I'd like to,
Thank
if
you,
y'all don't
Board.
have any other questions,
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to, to turn it over to y'all.
Sir,
Thank you.
Make a motion.
I have a motion made from Mr. Holt, second from Mr. Reyes. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. No opposition. That motion passes. We will now, let me get squared away here. Okay, we will now go into closed session. And the board will adjourn to a closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Pursuant to the Texas Government Code section 551.071, 551.074, and 551.129, consultation with legal counsel, including possible telephone consultation with legal counsel as necessary to address legal concerns, implications, and answer any legal questions regarding the posted agenda items. And for the pursuant Texas Government Code section 551.074, deliberation of an employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. Here we will interview applicants and deliberation regarding potential appointment from applicant pool for the position of Seguin ISD trustee for single member District 7. So for the record, board members, we will be going into executive session. I will call the legal counsel so he can go over procedures, and once he will be excused, Mr. Rowan, you will be excused from this process as well. Once legal counsel is excused, we'll bring in one candidate at a time to ask questions and go through the interview process. Time now is?
It is 7:35.
At this time, the board is not ready to make a decision. The board does not take this decision lightly and would like to take more time to consider the applicants. Accordingly, no action will be taken on this agenda item. It is now 9:47 and this meeting is adjourned.